Hello everyone and welcome to the Commexis Cast, all the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. Today we're talking about YouTube making another brand safety mistake with their advertising. Hello everyone, I'm Matthew McGordy, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I'm joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Philip Brooks.
Good morning.
So our story today comes from a CNN investigation. CNN found, and specifically Paul P. Murphy, Kaya Yuriev, and Gianluca Mezzofori. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. So they found that ads from over 300 companies and organizations, including tech giants, major retailers, newspapers, and government agencies — I will be listing some of the top key ones in a couple moments — ran on YouTube channels promoting white nationalists, Nazis, pedophilia, conspiracy theories, and North Korean propaganda. Yeah. So companies such as Adidas, Amazon, Cisco, Facebook, Hershey, Hilton, LinkedIn, Mozilla, Netflix, Nordstrom, and Under Armour.
You got to really be hitting the bottom of the barrel if North Korean propaganda is the least offensive sounding list in that list. Yikes.
And those were the companies I just listed were the ones that actually CNN was able to get statements from. I will have a link in the blog description, or the blog for you to look at all of their full reactions to this. Also, an interesting note that is a little bit different from the previous times that YouTube has had some brand safety issues, either with YouTube Kids app, which we've talked about in the past, or just on YouTube itself, which we've also covered. U.S. tax dollars may have gone to the channels too. Ads from 5 U.S. government agencies, such as the Department of Transportation and Centers for Disease Control, appeared on the channels. And companies that were made aware of this by CNN said that they had no idea previously that this was an issue. A couple of them said that they were looking into it, but most seemed to not be aware that this was an issue they were having. So what we really want to talk about today is, first off, YouTube, again, having some really insane issues with making sure that brand safety is something that is on the forefront of their list.
There's a whole lot of things that are wrong with this conversation. First of all, this is a private platform, so they're not bound by First Amendment rights. Why the hell is half of this stuff on here in the first place? Like, just, that's a whole nother argument and discussion. But, I don't think that these companies are necessarily aware of some of the content that can potentially be on these platforms that they're advertising. So, if I were a large company and I was concerned about my brand safety, and we'll get back to kind of a larger discussion of brand safety in a second, I would really be sure to, have somebody, at least, even if I had an intern or 3, take a look at some of this content and ask this advertiser, this platform, what are they going to do to address this? Like, why is this on here in the first place? Is this really appropriate? Does this need a voice? Because to me, there's a whole lot of stuff on here that doesn't need a voice.
There was, and this is somewhat related to this, there was a news piece that was going around probably about a month ago of some, I don't want to say gun rights channels, but they were channels that featured the use of guns and other firearms, specifically in regard to applying modifications to guns that were homemade modifications, as well as a couple other things. And YouTube had restricted these, so a lot of these videos were either being demonetized, or in some extreme cases, channels were being locked or flagged or something like that. And that caused a whole nother spur. There's actually an NPR article about it. I will link it in the blog description as well, which kind of discussed, if YouTube obviously had these guidelines set up and people were getting really upset about these channels being flagged, et cetera, and it kind of touches on that. Why are you allowing these things on the platform when you're restricting these other things?
Sure.
Now, of course, this was almost directly following the Parkland shooting, so I'm sure YouTube was being very PR aware.
Yeah, and I'm certainly they were getting lots of messaging to the extent of, hey, like, I saw this as somebody how to make a gun fully automatic. This is right here available to anybody. And let's not pretend this isn't without some precedence. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of Amazon, a lot of book retailers stopped stocking books like the Anarchist Cookbook, because there's no reason for this knowledge to be disseminated unless, let people figure that out. But you don't have to be, as a company, party to that, and I think that it becomes your moral obligation to determine, what you want your platform used for. And I can't imagine a company like Google, which, despite the bad rap that we tend to give them for being, kind of just a big, basically money machine, they do show that they have some moral character to them, and they do show that they have some, concern about the moral compass that is set with their products.
I mean, we have just from Google search results when they were talking about
exactly
changing what answers you get from certain search queries being things that are inflammatory or false. So it's very interesting how they're choosing to handle this. One thing that is particularly damning of this specific instance is that a lot of these companies had set broad targets for ads based on demographics and user behavior, but there are filters and blacklists that you can use while you're doing this so that your content does not appear on channels like this. And a lot of the companies said that they had used this sensitive subject exclusion filter, and they expected their ads to therefore be brand safe, but that is not what was obviously occurring. So then the question is, well, if you have this filter in place, why are these things getting
that's a whole nother side of the argument. And if you think about it, really, it's like, why is the onus on them to protect their brand from these channels being displayed side by side with this content? It's kind of ridiculous that you would even have to make that argument that, my responsibility as a brand is to say, look, I don't want my stuff to show up next to racism or Nazis. I mean, that it's appalling to me and insane that you even are having this conversation in 2018. So, it's imagine making the same argument for radio or television, and listen, and people would they'd be storming the office with pitchforks and torches. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, just to sort of pivot into a more brand safety focus, there's been a couple pieces recently out, specifically two that I'm going to link come from DigiDay in particular, but there's been a lot of pieces about, the importance of following the footsteps, following the scandals of Cambridge Analytica, following the multiple YouTube controversies that there have been, of hiring brand managers to make sure, brand safety officers rather, to make sure that your brand is appearing in areas that are safer and you're doing your due diligence. And in this case, it's the company itself going, okay, we need to make sure we have to do it if somebody else isn't. So for example, IPG Media Brands appointed Joshua Lokow as global brand safety officer sometime earlier in April. Group M's Joe Barone became a managing partner for brand safety in the Americas, appointed last year. Bank of America is looking to hire a brand safety officer. And there was a piece on DigiDay, which I will link in the blog description, about Chase's brand safety efforts, specifically in regard to YouTube and YouTube advertising. How much do you? We touched on this a little bit. How much do you think the onus is on these brands?
I think to me, these roles were instituted not necessarily for something specific to like this. I think these roles were more for, hey, let's make sure that we're not being associated with any influencers or anything like that that could potentially harm our brand. The Laura Ingraham situation that she had a few weeks ago on Fox, the commentator, where people are pulling, brands are pulling their advertising away. Like, those are the kinds of things that I think a brand safety officer is more likely to be kind of held accountable for. But obviously this is a much larger issue, and I think that they're going to need to be prepared to understand how their brand can be influenced by what's going on YouTube or what's going on and the potential pitfalls there. But I also think that influencer marketing is a big part of this here too, is because what am I from Alabama? But
from this zone here.
Yeah, not to knock people from Alabama, but that was, I don't know why I got suddenly turned Southern there for a second. But with this option, it's just a matter of the scope is growing every single day, and I think that you're going to see more and more companies hiring people like this just to protect their interests. And I do think that that's a shame, because I don't think that onus should be on the brand, at least when it comes to advertising being displayed on paid platforms like that. Influencer marketing, yeah, you're rolling the dice with, hey, this person probably doesn't have anything that's going to surface in their past that is going to
or they're going to say something
right, or they're going to say something
which
insane.
Has been a big problem for Twitch streamers recently.
There's a reason why Gary Busey's not the spokesperson for more products, whatever. But I think that it's going to be an issue that's going to continue to come up, and I do think that we're going to see more brands hiring these brand safety officers to just monitor all these channels and continue to do more in-depth due diligence on some of these influencer market opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for tuning into today's episode of the Commexis Cast Daily. Check us out tomorrow for more of the latest trending news. Also, you can check us out now on the iTunes podcast store, on TuneIn, and also on Stitcher.
So please leave a review and give us some ratings as well.
Yes, please.
We'd love your feedback.
Have a great day.